What is a standard? They are criteria established by all entities that ensure the good performance of education to know what they should know and what students should know. The basic standards of foreign language skills are intended to prepare students for a globalized world and to contribute to having citizens who are able to communicate in English. Importance. Learning a foreign language is an invaluable opportunity for the social, cultural and cognitive development of students, as well as improving interrelation and communication skills among people, learning awareness and meta-linguistic awareness. Most importantly, it encourages students to open their minds, to accept and understand new cultures and to promote exchange between different societies. Goals. Students in the 10th grade level reach the intermediate level of English according to the Common European Frame of Reference for Languages in Teaching, Learning and Assessment that allows them to communicate in the language and to appropriate knowledge using them effectively in real communication situations. The ideal is to have Colombians able to communicate in English with internationally comparable and quality standards. Levels. The levels are subdivided according to the Common European Framework in foreign languages as follows. Level A1 Access. He is able to understand and use expressions of very frequent and daily use to satisfy his needs of immediate type, for example, presenting himself and presenting to other people, asking and giving basic personal information about his domicile, his belongings and the people he knows. It is identified because the communication occurs in a very articulate and very slow way.
Hello, I'm Sarah.
A apple. B
Level A2 platform. He is able to understand phrases and expressions frequently used in the main areas of experience of the individual, for example, basic information about himself and his family, shopping, places of interest, occupations, and so on. It identifies itself because it knows how to communicate when carrying simple and everyday tasks.
Look, there's Tom Cruise.
Shh. I know.
Oh my gosh, is that... It's not.
Shh. Yes, it is.
Wow.
Level B1 Intermediate. He is able to understand the main points of clear texts and in standard language if they are dealing with questions or questions that are known to him, be it in work, study and leisure situations. For example, you can respond to situations while traveling in a place where the English language is spoken. You can create simple and coherent texts on familiar or personal topics.
Madrid.
Madrid. I love Barcelona. I have a friend there. Her name's Marina. You may know her.
No, I don't know any Marina in Barcelona.
Well,
Level B2 High Intermediate. He is able to understand situations and main ideas of complex texts that deal with abstract subjects as technicians whenever they are within his knowledge or specialization. It is identified because the speaker is able to integrate into a conversation with a native speaker. Communication occurs naturally without the need for so much effort on the part of any of the interlocutors. For example, you can produce clear and detailed texts on different subjects to distinguish some contradictory situations.
Nottingham 3 months ago, looking for a job. My cousin has been living here with his wife for 5 years now, and he got this job for me in a telemarketing company. I think that among many other good qualities,
Level of performance of English according to the Ministry of National Education (MEN). In middle school, students are expected to reach the B1 level. All of them are expected to have a higher education where they develop in intermediate and advanced levels of English. They are grouped in the sets of degrees of 1. From 1st to 3rd, A1. 2. From 4th to 5th, the 2.1. 3. From 6th to 7th, A2.2. 4 of 9th, PR, MEDIO 1. 5. From 10th to 1/10, preterm 2. Competitions. It is the set of knowledge, skills and individual and social characteristics that allow humans to develop and take action in a given context depending on the situation or problem. The competitions are divided into 3. Language competence. It is based on the formal structure of the language, including knowledge, lexical, phonological, syntactic, and orthographic skills. For example, to associate vocabulary in certain contexts, how to apply grammar rules in new messages. Pragmatic competence. It helps in the functional use of linguistic resources and includes first the discursive competence. For example, the ability to organize sentences in sequences to produce textual fragments. Socio-linguistic competence. It is the knowledge of the social and cultural conditions that are implicit in the use of language. Example: courtesy rules and other rules of relations proper to each culture. The communicative competence implies to use diverse situations in all the contexts for that it covers the ethical, aesthetic, social and cultural dimension of the language that is being learned. UNESCO International Commission on Education of the 21st Century. They tell us about the pillars of education. 1. Learn to know. 2. Learn to do. 3. Learn to live together. 4. Learn to be. The Ministry of National Education has wanted to unify all these criteria through the declarative knowledge that is the union of knowledge acquired from experience and formal or academic learning, skills and abilities. They are the skills and practical skills that a person possesses, whether they are vital as professionals, tastes, hobbies, arts, and on the other hand intercultural ones such as the ability to relate, sensitivity and the possibility of overcoming differences. Personal knowledge identifies the personal, individual, and attitudes that make up the personality and influence our image and that of others. The ability to learn. It is the predisposition to discover what is different. Heuristic strategies for learning the foreign language. 1. Deduction of words by context. 2. It is spoken through the corporal expression. It is spoken with the gestures. 3. If there is a complex problem, first study a basic one. Structure of the standards. They are organized in 5 groups of grades, according to the progressive development of the levels of performance of the foreign language English. They are structured with horizontal coherence and vertical coherence. Horizontal coherence. It is identified because it has a general standard as a cartoon. It is about defining the level of performance in the language. It is divided into 2 columns, one of blue, knowing, which speaks about the abilities of understanding divided in abilities listening and reading, and a brown column, which deals with skills related to writing and the use of auto language, for example, the production of monologues in conversation. Vertical coherence. In this, the standards are interrelated little by little like a spiral in the time. Many, they are asserted, they are repeated, and they are repeated progressively in different degrees. It is important to recognize that the standards are reached gradually in full with levels of increasing complexity, also must take into account the above-mentioned communicative skills. Linguistic, pragmatic and socio-linguistic. There is a table of conventions or reference table as follows. 1. Linguistic competence. 2. Pragmatic competence. 3. Socio-linguistic competence. Achievements. The achievements determine what is expected to be achieved with each student is to say what they should know about the language and that they are expected to communicate with it, achieving appropriate knowledge through a programming by the teacher according to their points of reference and the context where is immersed the educational community.